10th of what you usually spend on a movie like this, or like a 50th. You know, so yeah, it was pretty incredible. I've actually, just as a side note, I've done a ton of interviews with Gareth, the director, so I actually have heard a lot of his stories about making it. So if you guys do, you know, I think we're going to do some questions and stuff, and if you have questions about that kind of stuff too, I might have a few answers.
Well, let's talk about why you chose this film to be the movie that you would score.
Okay. Well, what happened was, this is my first score. We did a little bit, my bandmates and I did a little bit of stuff in Transformers 2 when we put a song in that movie, and we were in town at the time in between tours, so we did some work on that, did a few scenes. And that was really fun, it got me excited about it. I kind of always had a curiosity about doing this, but that was the first time I really got any hands-on experience, and it was really exciting. So a few people have come to me since then asking if I'd want to do like a full-length picture, and I thought, you know, usually I thought I just wouldn't have time, and it wouldn't work out. Like, the timing was always bad, or like the approach was bad. And oftentimes the thing that was so like the worst was like they're coming to me saying, "Hey, we love Linkin Park. Like, will you like do Linkin Park on our movie, and then we can put your name really big on it," you know? And that's like the opposite of what I want to do, you know, because it's like, I think if they're going to have, usually when they're saying that, they're saying, hey, we're going to have somebody else really score the movie, and then you're going to throw some guitars on it, and then it's going to be Linkin Park, and then all our Linkin Park fans are going to go watch it and go, like, that's lame, that's not what we came to hear, at least.
Interesting.
You know, so these guys called me and said, you know, we really love the Linkin Park stuff, we love Fort Minor, and we love the remixes you've done, and a lot of stuff like that I do for fun. And so I knew it would be kind of a fun experience I could probably, you know, get away with, since it's this is the director's second movie ever, and it's, I figured I could kind of work through some mistakes and it would be okay. Like, he's growing, I'm growing, like I'm figuring it out, he's figuring it out, and yeah, that's kind of what, you know, kind of what ended up happening. But to help out with the, you know, I did have a tour that came, you know, like right in the middle of scoring it, and I hired a guy by the name Joe Trapanese, who was Daft Punk's scoring partner on Tron. He also did some work on like M83's album. He's done some other stuff too. That's really, I just think he's really, you know, I got the sense he was really talented, and I called a bunch of people to see, you know, I interviewed him, I interviewed a few other people, but once I talked to him, it was like over. So he was obviously the guy with more of a classical background, composition, arranging, and stuff like that could kind of lead me through the workflow and also add some of that other, you know, experience.
So what did you learn from this process?
I mean, the main thing is that, you know, for me, I'm used to writing like stuff that I want, when it comes on the radio, I want it to like grab you and pull you into the song, and you pay attention, and it's like a personal, there's a connection, and it's hooky and whatever, but there's also a personal connection, and it's an honest, like, you know, story coming from us. And in this type of a thing, clearly the story is coming from, you know, the script, the actors, the director, and I've got to play a supporting role. So as soon as I started doing stuff that I normally would do on a song, it started distracting you. Like, it was really, anything hooky to that, you know, to that end was like, all of a sudden you're like, oh, that sounds cool, and you lost the story entirely for like 2 minutes. You don't know what they were saying or doing or whatever. And that was always bad. So I had to turn that down a lot in making this. Yeah, I think that.
And, to me, the thing that's surprising about this film is, unlike an American movie that would start with a humongous fight scene and then the rest of the movie would just be trying to top that, this is this slow build, and then it gets more and more intense. And tell us about the process of scoring with sort of that slow build in mind.
We did, what we did on this was, like the first week, I decided that I wanted to kind of create a palette of sounds, like you do for, I have a background in illustration, so the palette of sounds is important. It's like, what colors do you use, what colors do you not use? The guitar, which I mentioned earlier, I thought like if we use too much guitar, or any guitar for the most part, it would start to turn it into like this kind of like, it could get corny really fast, you know? It could be like, you know, WWE instead of like what this movie is, you know? And Not that WWE is corny, if you're a fan of that. But
It's a little corny.
no, but the point is, like, it gave it the wrong vibe. And so we cut. I said we're not going to do that, and let's do something more traditional with the strings and the piano and organic instruments. We'll put those in the parts that are more like family oriented, or he's with his brothers, which is really his SWAT team. Is, you know, his character says, Rama says in a couple scenes that those are his brothers, you know, and whatever. So we save those for those things, and then you know, the movie. It's built in a way, I don't know if you guys, you know, I've seen it 100 times, so it's built in a way that, like, it's almost like a video game where he starts on the lowest level, and as he goes up, it's like tougher and tougher enemies.
Totally.
And also what happens is they run out of, first they come in with guns, and it's not one of those, like, you know, in like, I imagine the American version being like, they come in with the guns, but they start fighting with their fists anyway, and that's like so stupid, like who would do that? But that's what happens in American like action movies. And so these guys come with their guns, and they use their guns until they can't use them anymore. And then they've got to move to like machetes and knives and things, and then when the machetes and knives are gone, then they're using their fists. And and they go up and up and up in levels, and the final like fight is really like the toughest guy that's so tough that it takes two guys to beat him. And if you really watch it, Rama's the main character. His brother in that last fight scene is like really not doing much, like because he's just not good enough to do anything except like pin the guy once in a while or grab his legs or get himself flipped over, and then Rama can come in and like he's distracted and then he can beat on the guy. But like it's very, and to that extent, that I think the director was pretty. It's more realistic. It doesn't. There's not so much like smoke and mirrors. You know what I'm saying? Like there's at least enough of an element of reality for me that I'm like I get drawn into it more because of that, I think.
Now, did you add colors to the palette, as you were saying, as it builds?